Warning, this video does contain spoilers for the 2022 film Lightyear. So I will be the first to admit that I wasn't necessarily ecstatic about a Buzz Lightyear solo movie coming out. Again, I know Disney Pixar wants to forget that Buzz Lightyear Star Command is a movie that exists, and I refuse to do so. But yeah, I had seen 4 Toy Story movies. I think that was enough of an offering of that character that I didn't really need to see anything else. But then that first trailer dropped, and everything changed. The David Bowie really spoke to me. That was a good song choice in that trailer.
Let the children use it. Let the children use it. Let all the children boogie.
To infinity.
And
it was a great trailer. I was actually excited to see this movie.
you know what? I'm actually excited about this.
And then it came out. And then it got review bombed. And then a friend of mine saw it, didn't like it. Another friend of mine saw it, also didn't like it. Okay? What am I going to think about this movie? Well, I have now seen Disney Pixar's latest offering, Lightyear, and, I actually kind of liked it. I thought it was really fun. Does it hold up to Pixar standards? Not particularly. I'd say it's pretty middle of the pack as far as Pixar goes, maybe even lower. But it's a fun space action movie starring a character who happens to be named Buzz Lightyear. But what I would like to talk about is just one moment I think they could have changed. That would have changed a couple other things. But one key moment that I think could have brought a real emotionality to the back half of Lightyear that was pretty sorely missing, in my opinion. I think that's what a lot of people came away feeling. It was a fun enough action movie, and it, to its credit, I actually thought the moment of Buzz walking into that empty office, Commander Hawthorne's office, his friend, and seeing it empty was actually a good emotional moment. Now, I'll admit it was a little undercut in the theater I was in because as he walked into that empty office, a child looked at the screen, pointed and went, "I think she's dead," which, to his credit, she was. But where was its Bing Bong sacrifice from Inside Out? Where was its entire back half of Toy Story 3? Where was the moment of goodbye and reconciliation and understanding that happened even in 2020's Onward? I happen to think that moment in Lightyear was staring us in the face the whole time. So here's my pitch. We kill the cat. I think we can all mostly agree that Socks was the fan favorite standout character of the movie Lightyear. Big fan of that robot cat. But I don't want to kill Socks just because he became a fan favorite character and I'd get some, cheap emotion out of that moment. In fact, they even, attempted to, they did a bit of a fake out death with Socks during the meat sandwich scene. You'd know it if you saw it. And in fact, we did get an actual Socks' death scene at the hands or feet of Zurg. And, no one really seemed to care within the movie, and that translated to the audience. No one really cared that Socks actually died in this movie, this character that we'd really come to know and love by this point. And I think we can exploit that, and we can change that to make it a little better. So, in my version of Lightyear, we get everything pretty much the same up until the Zurg reveal, except maybe we hold on to that Hawthorne hologram scene. I think it could be more effective later. It's not poorly placed. I just think it could be a little better after what I'm about to lay out. Here is where we are introduced to who I'm going to affectionately refer to as Old Socks. Now, Old Socks is introduced to the audience and relatively quickly does a heel turn on Zurg. I would like Socks to not be as easily persuaded. So, in my version, the Zurg reveal happens, Old Socks is introduced, and we still get some banter there. Of course, we get Buzz trying to convince Zurg that he is now on a new path and for him not to complete his mission. But he is not convinced, and Old Socks is not convinced either. They now capture Buzz. They can throw him in some kind of futuristic cell, usually, some kind of laser screen or laser grid kind of cell. That's typically how these future prisons go. This will allow for a couple things. One, Izzy still gets her moment to be a hero, and even more so, she and Young Socks, or our Socks, can go and free Buzz together, and he definitively gets to learn his lesson that yes, he needs a team. He needs to work together. He cannot do it alone. It also allows a little more time. Granted, it's not going to be half a movie. It's not going to be a significant amount of screen time, but it is going to be a little more screen time for Old Socks to be more convinced by Buzz's change, his actual change. So, at this point, Izzy is fighting Zurg one-on-one, and Socks goes to free Buzz. This is where we get our first moment. The only way Socks can figure how to depower the laser grid that is imprisoning Buzz is to sacrifice himself. He will need to plug into it and short it out. This will give, a touching scene between the two. We could have the hollow message here. Again, I'd like to save it for a little later. But this allows a moment between the audience, between Socks, and Old Socks also can be looking on after all of this. And we get to see that change and what that change means to someone who has lived with the Buzz who has not gone through that change. Of course, once Buzz is freed, he and Izzy can continue to fight Zurg over the crystal. And if we want, we can end the whole Zurg fight with a fun little moment of Old Socks having his change of heart and tranquilizing Zurg. Fast forward some to after the fight, the team has all landed. Of course, Buzz would bring Socks with him out of some kind of code of honor. Maybe he wants to bury him. I don't know what Space Ranger protocol is on your dead cat, but I'm sure he'd have him with him at this point. And so we could have another moment here, and this is probably where I want the Hawthorne message coming from actually Old Socks. We could say he unlocked it after a certain amount of time. For the sake of the plot, why wouldn't Socks show this to Buzz? Well, maybe only Old Socks had access to this. We could now show that message. Old Socks completes his arc and really highlights, again, the theme of this movie, which is change, and the change that the people around you can inspire, which is a nice message. I think it should be highlighted. But this, of course, will be Old Socks' last moment. It is the end of his arc, and he can use his own spark, per se, to reboot the Socks we have come to know through this movie. So yes, it is a fake-out death, but I think it is an effective fake-out death because it does have some real impact, some real stakes, and some real emotionality in the story. But that is just one small change I would make to the movie Lightyear. In fact, as I was watching it, I thought the whole time, I was just waiting for them to kill the cat. I was waiting for it. Every other scene, I was like, oh, this is going to be the scene where he sacrifices himself, and then the cat would live. Oh, this is the scene where he floats off into space, and then he's caught. I was really surprised they kept that cat alive, and I wouldn't be surprised if there was some version of the script at some point that did have a scene similar to what I am describing, because it did just feel like a black hole in the back half of that movie, just begging for some kind of Pixar moment. But anyway, those are my thoughts on the movie Lightyear. Again, I liked it, but I think it could have been even better. I think it could have been going from a nice, fun movie to a great movie. I don't know. Did you like Lightyear? Do you think that change is ridiculous? Would you have overhauled way more than that? Let me know. I would actually love to hear it, and we could figure out how to make this movie the best it could possibly be. Thank you for watching. To infinity and beyond.